we are going to be, we are talking about coming to New York City, where I live. And I just moved here in April, but I lived here in another lifetime before marriage, after college. And so I put together a lot of trips for a lot of different places, from Paris to Machu Picchu and San Miguel and a beach retreat, all of that. And then somebody was saying, well, why don't you do one for New York City in your home, your new hometown? So I put something together, and as I was saying to a few of you here, I've been doing a lot of research in my neighborhood. So one of my co-hosts is just come in, but it's Ellen Williams. Say hi to Ellen. She's waving right now. Ellen.
Hey, hello.
Ellen is not only our Paris expert. She is born and raised in Greenwich Village, has a Facebook group about Greenwich Village. And so she will be part of the New York tour, where we will just walking around with her. We went by Sarah Jessica Parker's, where she's getting her new shoe store set up, the sex shop where Samantha got her vibrator or something from one of and just a great, just the history and the understanding of what the city is, especially the downtown area where she's such an expert. But what I've done is I've done a little slideshow I want to show you, because it helps put everything into perspective, gives you an idea of what, I'm going to share my screen in a minute. I just got knocked off of my slideshow. So I'm going to just go back to that, and then I will share my screen, and you will see that you'll see all that I'm talking about. And then afterwards we can introduce ourselves and ask questions. So let me do the first thing, which is to share my screen. And don't look at all the mess here. Just please don't look. You saw nothing. There's nothing to look at here. Okay, I'm going to make this big. Okay. Here we go. So I put this together. I checked it with, this is the hotel this is not the hotel, but this is a street. This is Ludlow Street. So we're focusing everything on downtown New York, because first of all, I wanted to keep it a little contained, so we could do a lot of walking. And also because there's just so much here that you might not know about. I mean, a lot of stuff in Midtown and around Central Park, people know about, maybe have seen. But this is a tour that really takes you into the heart of kind of the artistic New York, the original historic, the beginnings of New York City. So this is the street where we'll be on Ludlow Street in the Lower East Side. This is not me, but this is my friend Kim. She's up on I have a rooftop on this beautiful apartment that I'm in. And so the very first thing we're going to do is have a cocktail party on my rooftop, and just to start it off. And we'll have some artists and some people who are doing entrepreneurs in the New York, women I know, who are going to come and just be part of the cocktail party, because I feel like that's really what I like to do when in any city. I like to put together a trip where you get to meet people who are living there, experiencing it. It just expands your world to find out how they live and what kind of activities and passions they have. And Kim, our fashion editor, this is Kim, our fashion editor, she will be part of the trip. And then our first night is a restaurant called Freeman's. And I swear, I've been in now New York for about 8 months, and this place is about 2 blocks from me. It's such an insider place that I've walked by it so many times. It's on this little alley, at the end of an alley, and it's just fabulous food, the atmosphere. It's one of those things that you feel like you just feel so overjoyed when you find it, because it's like you open this door and you walk into this other world. And so this is one of the places I'm taking you for dinner. And there's our Miss Kim again. She has taken me to many beautiful stores in downtown area. So I'm talking about the East Village, the Lower East Side, Soho, and the West Village. Those are the areas we're kind of in the financial district for other things. But for this, she took me to some places. We were at a consignment, a high-end designer consignment shop. I'm trying on some leather pants there. We went to a sample sale. She's in the middle there. It's Ulla Johnson. I got bathing suits for like $50 that normally sell for 300 something. The place was mobbed. You have to stand in line. But once you get there, it's just like stacks of racks and racks of clothes. And the picture where I'm pointing to my white leather kind of Doc Martens, I got that. That's at a thrift store, a high-end thrift store, and just got them for $45. And they were just my size. They were just waiting for me. And then there's Kim. This is like a designer consignment that is just to die for. We're at the bottom. Lots and lots of bags there, like the fancy bags that were going for like a fraction of the price. So that we'll spend some time in the West Village. We'll be going to High Line and Ellen Williams. This is really her specialty. We'll be going to her apartment and walking to the Whitney, and the Whitney Museum is in the High Line district, meatpacking district. And so we'll end up here at Pastis, which is this great French bistro. And Ellen and I went there for lunch the other day, and it was fabulous. You'll love it. Here is another restaurant that I just recently found, and I'm not even going to tell you the name, but that's part of the fun. It's in the Lower East Side, and this is like Kim told me, my friend Kim told me about it, but it's so like innocuous. It looks like a pawn shop. It is a pawn shop. On the outside, it's a pawn shop, and then you walk through the pawn shop, and there's a door that opens, and you go into this restaurant. Like it's beautiful with these big lighting fixtures, and very elaborate. The food is great, but it's just so much fun because you're like, oh my God, I came to the Emerald City or something. Here is one thing. We're going to have a lot of lunches. Or several of our lunches are going to be in the apartments of New York women. And I think that is what I really love. I mean, to see inside somebody's apartment, two of these photos are from Ellen's apartment, which is one of the most fabulous apartments I've been to in New York. And even we've had a Sunday salon there, and all these hardcore New Yorkers who've been we've been in the city for years were just gaga over her apartment. And because Ellen's also our Paris expert, it's filled with gorgeous pieces that she got from Paris. And we're going to have a luncheon there, and our speaker there is going to be Sarah Nelson, who's the executive editor of HarperCollins, a major publisher. So and then there's other apartments we'll be going to with other speakers, artists, writers. So I have a lot of that planned because I want you to meet these women who live here and make those kind of friendships that will last, or you'll be able to connect with, and who knows where they'll lead, right? And there, this is New York, so we've got to have some nightlife in here. So I've planned some nightlife, and one of the places I want to take you to is the Ear Inn, which is. It's been the far West Village, almost down to Tribeca, really. And it was a sailor's bar for the longest time. And then now it's kind of just this funky place. And the reason it's called Ear, if you look in this picture, is that it was called Bar, the new owners didn't want to go through the landmark district and change their sign. So they just put tape over the B. And that's how it got its name, is Ear. But we're planning to go there on a Sunday night. They have a quartet. They're called the Irregulars. Ha, 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 ha. And you can see there's people dancing. It's just great. It's just fabulous. Let's see here. Oh, we'll also do, I have some, we're very lucky because there's going to be 2 major exhibitions while we're in April, while we're there, of women artists in our age group. One's at the Whitney. Joan, I don't know if Jane or John, I don't know how to say her name, Quick to See Smith. She's on what you see on the left. She's a Native American artist, and she is having a big exhibit at the Whitney. We're going to have a private tour of that. The other is I have to say, look at her name. Hold on a second. I've got to move this over. Hold on one second. Okay. We have the private tours of 2 major exhibitions. Wagenshi Mutu is the other one, and she's going to be at the new museum, which is about 3 blocks from the hotel you'll be staying at. And her work is going to be taking over the whole museum. So we'll get a private tour of that as well. And in addition, we're going to have plenty of time to see the best of Lower Manhattan. Ellen has introduced me to a wonderful guide who knows this area and its history, and he'll be taking us walking across the Brooklyn Bridge. Down here on the bottom left corner is the September 11th Museum. We'll be at Battery Park, where you can see the Statue of Liberty, and there's the Fearless Girl that you might have heard of. So there's lots that we're going to be doing, but this is one of the things I can tell you we'll definitely be doing. This is meeting people, bonding, having fun, friendship. This is what our trips are all about. And there's just going to be so many opportunities for that here in New York. This is just some of the events we've had for Next Tribe, some of the people I've gotten to know better since I've been up here. So that just gives you a glimpse of some of the things that we'll be doing. And now I wanted to, now that we're stopping sharing, I wanted to ask people well, first let me introduce you to Ellen. Ellen, do you want to tell us about your history in Greenwich Village and all that you love to share with people in your home turf? Oh, you're muted. Wait a second, you're muted.
There we go. That's from living with 4 dogs. You get in the habit of muting. And here's what I can tell you. When I look out my living room window, I can see the top of the building that we lived in when I was born. So I've only made it 3 blocks in all this time. And I've been here in this apartment more than half my life. So it is really, it's home. I mean, that's all there is to it. And I do know this neighborhood incredibly well. As a child growing up in this neighborhood in the 60s, even though I was just a kid, I knew it was special. I mean, and everybody loves their, where they grow up and whatnot. But I kind of knew that this was special even in the world, that this was a place of political interest and artistic creativity and, women's liberation and gay liberation and all kinds of things that you can really feel in the neighborhood. One of the things that we will do is take you to some really terrific old shops in the neighborhood, to places that you're not going to find them in your local mall. There's a fabulous I think they might still call it an apothecary. It's called Bigelow's. You might have read about it. It's been about 3 blocks from here since 1838. And they have the most beautiful skincare products and beautiful cosmetics and, wonderful shave kits and whatnot. A very good place to bring gifts back. There's a wonderful old coffee roaster that's been there since 1895. A bunch of places like that will pass. There's a lot of Sex and the City stuff in the neighborhood too, for those who are interested, because of course, Sarah Jessica Parker lives here, and she set a lot of the series here while pretending that it was the Upper East Side. So the Magnolia Bakery, which they made literally world famous. We can pass the house where the Friends group lived. there's a lot of fun landmarks in addition to sort of more serious arty farty landmarks. What else, Jeannie?
Well, I don't know. I just love that the little, walking with you down those in the cobblestone streets. And it's just a reminder, of how old that part of the city is, that they still have the cobblestone streets on like Gansevoort and streets like that. But I also love that the story about the meatpacking district, because when I lived in New York, the first go around, there was nothing there. There was like, it was like the place you go.
Carcasses. There were carcasses there.
Yes, meat packing, carcasses and prostitutes. I just remember that kind of like, and there was like one place I'd go, tortilla flats or something. So, but now it is, the Whitney is like an anchor of Whitney Museum is the anchor, and all around it's just developed with beautiful, beautiful shops and restaurants. Sometimes the shops are a little over the top. I mean, not that we're not going to take you to the big like Hermes or whatever, Louis Vuitton, they're all there too, but there are some good shops there, and there's a great feeling. And we were going to go on the High Line because I actually know one of the two people who started the High Line, who pushed it through, and it's a short walk, even though Chelsea's kind of a little outside of what I consider, downtown. It's just right there. We're going to through Chelsea Market. So, and Ellen will be with us on a lot of this walking. So, one of the great things about New York is that, it's all kind of impromptu. You can't plan it. Things just happen. So walking along, who knows what we'll see? Maybe Sarah Jessica Parker will be out and about. Who knows? I mean, seriously, you just never know, right? So, I'm thrilled that Ellen's going to be part of this because of her background in all that it's about New York, this part of New York. So, and her beautiful apartment.
Jeannie, what's another thing to tell people is, even though we are confining the trip to Lower Manhattan, there's so many different vibes, so many different neighborhoods, like the Lower East Side, it is alive, and it's alive in a way that it wasn't 100 years ago, where the streets were just teeming with immigrants speaking, scores of different languages, but it is full of young people and creative people and interesting restaurants and clubs. And I know Jeannie has planned for us to go to one of the, landmark restaurants, one of the old delis, where I'm sure everybody saw the scene and when Harry Met Sally, where Sally fakes the orgasm at the table. And so it's just a terrific neighborhood. And then just 5 minutes walk away is the tip of Manhattan, where there's Wall Street and all of that particular kind of energy, and the seaport and the September 11th memorial. And so you've got, in very close quarters, these very different parts of the city, but that all kind of unmistakably have that New York DNA, and yet in a very different way. And so, Chelsea is a little bit different from the Village, and the Village is different from the East Village, and the East Village is a little different from Nolita, and Nolita is a little different from Tribeca, but they all sort of sing in harmony in Lower Manhattan, to kind of push the metaphor a little.
Yes. And I forgot to mention that, yes, the Katz's Deli. So this is one of the, the great things about being part of Next Tribe and just traveling, and you never know who you're going to meet. We were on our trip to San Miguel de Allende in October, and we met the woman who she was an owner of Katz's Deli. She's our age. She's now retired, but her son is running it now. So I'm talking to her, getting it set up so that we can have a lunch there, and she can talk to us about the history of the place. I mean, it is, it's a kind of place, serious. It's a few blocks. It's actually it's like half a block from the hotel that I've booked everybody in. Katz's Deli is. And every time I pass Katz's Deli, there's a line outside because people want to see this place. It means something. You know, and
it's delicious.
It is delicious. And, you know, there's things I've learned, you know, I was here for 10 years right after college, but there's things I've learned on this stay here that, and I'm sure Ellen knows this, that there's two types. There's delis, you know, you think of Jewish delis, but there's also Jewish appetizing shops. And they sell two different things. The delis sell the meat, and the appetizing shops sell everything you would put on a bagel, like the fish and the cream cheese and all of that. So there are examples of both in the Lower East Side still holding on. We'll concentrate on the deli because we have that personal connection, and I think you guys would really like that. So I'm making that happen, and just got to, you know, settle everything with her, the former owner. So what kind of questions do people have, or I'd love to hear from you on, you know, what you hope. I mean, I hope you'll sign up, but if what you hope to see and feel in this trip to New York. Anybody?
Jeannie, you know,
Yeah.
I already signed up, but the only thing is maybe the week before the trip, because late April in New York is tricky. We would like some insider, Ellen, we would like some insider weather advice, because you know, it could be anything. So about the week before, if we could get some advice, that'd be great. Especially since we're doing the High Line and the Brooklyn Bridge, which I've never done and I would love to do.
Yes. Yes, we will definitely. And we'll have, once we get, what we do also is once we get everyone who signed up, we do another Zoom for all the people who are going, so they can meet each other in advance and kind of get to find out more about it, why people are coming, what they're hoping to see, you know, all of that, and get to know faces in advance. So there's not so much of that first date feeling, though. Really, you know, on any Next Tribe trip, there's hardly ever that kind of awkward stage, because people are just it's just so embracing from the very beginning. And I think, see, Kelly says the focus is Lower East Side. No, the focus is so will be, you're going to staying on the edge of the Lower East Side, just a kind of between the Lower East Side and the East Village, but close to Nolita, which is what we now call probably Ellen can explain it better. It's kind of, Soho is south of Houston Street. Nolita is really north of Houston, but kind of this in-between area between the East Village and the West Village. Is that right, Ellen? It's Nolita?
Not quite. It doesn't touch the West Village at all. Nolita literally stands for North of Little Italy. So it's a little more,
yeah.
But everything kind of fits in together like a jigsaw puzzle. And it is one of those things that I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's like the atoms rearrange, and you can, you know, the neighborhoods, they have similarities, but there's a difference too. So Nolita was, you know, a working class Lower East Side neighborhood that maybe 25 years ago, people started moving into these tiny little storefronts and populating them with boutiques, with independently owned boutiques. So there can be great shopping in Nolita. I mean, just, you know, you can walk along 4 or 5 blocks and find all kinds of crazy, cute little boutiques, and, you know, places for handbags and swimsuits and all kinds of stuff.
Hat stores,
yeah,
milliners.
And the Lower East Side doesn't really exist in its sort of historic sense anymore, because it probably is mostly filled with kids coming, you know, 20-somethings coming into these old tenement apartments that used to be occupied by scores of immigrant families. Jeannie, are we going to the tenement museum?
Yes, we are going to the tenement museum. Okay, Kelly, I see that. Thank you, Kelly. I just want to tell Kelly before she goes that if you put in your deposit tonight, I'll give you $100 off the trip. So please know that, Kelly, and everyone. I want to get her before she left. But we are going to the tenement museum, and Ellen is so right. She's been encouraging me to investigate, and I looked at it. it's not a museum like any other museum I've seen. It is kind of live experiences. Like what we're going to go see is it's an actress kind of acting out what it was like to live in a tenement apartment in the, in the early 1900s when all the immigrants were really filling that area. So we are going to go there, and we'll get a sense of that history. And I think that it brings up an aspect of, on all of our trips, Ellen ran the trip in Paris that we did last June, but in all the trips, I like to have all those different layers, it's not all history. It's not all one thing. It's a bit of everything, because that's how life is. And that's how these places are. So we'll get some history. We'll get art. We'll get an interesting architecture, and we'll talk about architecture too. But there's going to be so many layers to explore. So, if there's something that doesn't interest you, you can either pass on it or just go and know that the next thing is going to be your deal. And I also want to say that for people who haven't traveled with Next Time before, I do like to make these trips. And I tell people, in my travel life, I'm not a person who normally goes on group trips. And what that means is I design these trips so that you can feel you have some freedom. You don't feel like you're on a conveyor belt just passing through. You have time to just say, I'm going to take a pass on this, and I'll meet you at this restaurant. And that's what the beauty of GPS and Google Maps is I can email you. I can say, okay, this is the restaurant we'll be at, so we'll see you there. So I want to just tell you that. I'm telling you that because there's some room to breathe and to be your, a real grown ass woman and say, you know what, this is what I want. I want to go back to that shop. So or whatever. So but we are going to see the you were talking about the Lower East Side and the tenement museum. So that is going to be part of what we explore.
One thing that I'll tell you about, I've been to the tenement museum several times, and there's something very, very, very special about it, which is the different apartments, let's say half a dozen of them are actually decorated. One is a 1870s German family, one is a 1930s Italian family. But the stories that they tell you are of the actual people who lived there. You are hearing the story, these inspirational stories of these people who came to this country with nothing. They came and they worked like dogs, and they lived in what we would consider absolutely deplorable conditions, 15 people to 3 small rooms. But you're hearing the story about the people who actually lived there. And a lot of them were single women. A lot of them were deserted by the men, the stories are heartbreaking and inspirational, and in a very different way, obviously, although they are connected. The September 11th memorial is something that will take your breath away. It is so beautiful and so moving. And, and you think about what this catastrophe that happened in this very tiny part of Manhattan was like. So again, it's not just, it's not all just but there's stuff that really makes you think and that can move you, and I think that will be inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions?
I put a question in the chat.
Okay. Marilyn. Marilyn.
Yes.
The hotel. The hotel. Sorry. You want to talk about the hotel? Okay, so I checked out a lot of hotels in the area, and one thing that's important for me is for our next trips is to find a hotel that has plenty of rooms with 2 beds in case people want to share rooms, because and Lucy's smiling because in Paris that they were all together very close. They were 2 beds, but they were like this close together. So so I went around and checked out all these hotels. Hotel Indigo is part of a chain, which at first I was like, I don't know. But Indigo, it's a IHG property. I guess they do Hilton as well. but that's their art lifestyle brand, and they make every one of those hotels reflect the area. So it has lots of art in it when you walk in the lobby, and the rooms are nice size, especially for New York. You're not going to be, in a little bread box. And it has a bar upstairs. It's called Mr. Purple upstairs. So you always like a bar in your hotel. And across the street is another hotel that's one of the fanciest, the Ludlow House. You know that one, right, Ellen? Yeah. But I mean, it would have added a couple thousand to the trip if I'd booked that one. But so what my goal was in finding a hotel is comfortable, safe, plenty of room, good price, because I try to keep these things, as low priced as possible. And I want you to feel like you're getting your money's worth. And so that's why I feel like I can, why I like the Hotel Indigo. Any other questions about the hotel, Marilyn?
I'd like to know a little bit more about, like, are there, other than the bar, are there other rooms that, you can gather?
Oh, yes. And I can talk about that. I have to say that it is several of these hotels that I visited were in a transition getting back to full speed after COVID. Right. So I think their cafe at Hotel Indigo is not where you would go for breakfast, is not fully functioning, but there are rooms you can gather in, and I even have a couple pictures. I'll have to find those and I can send them to you. But yeah, nice rooms with views out onto, I can't remember which direction, but yeah, and what I'm going to do for breakfast, your breakfast will be included, but what I want to do is, there's so many great places in the area that have nice breakfast. And so I think every day I'm going to bring in food from a different little, an area, a different cafe in the area. If budget allows, one of them might be Balthazar. If you've heard of Balthazar, it's a great bistro and bakery. So I'm working that out, but you'll have breakfast, and it'll be my plan is to have it from a different cool place every morning. And I will get you a picture of them gathering spaces, but also I can put in the chat if you want to check out anything that I'm not telling you. I'm going to put the link in the chat.
I have another question.
Yeah.
What about there's going to be 15 approximately?
Yes.
So what is the plan for just getting around? Because I was just in New York a month ago, and public trans, not so great. I took the subway once against the advice of everyone, and I could see why. So, I mean, most places that you're describing are seemingly walking distance, but is that the idea?
That's the idea, is to walk. And I would say Ellen is a specialist in public transport. She's lived in New York her whole life, and she probably can count on one hand how many times she's taken a cab. But I feel very confident. I mean, any subways we take, like if to start our tour of Lower Manhattan, we might take the 6 train for like five stops. So there is going to be some public transport. I can also look into, if you're uncomfortable with the subway, I'm sure there are buses that go, don't you think, from the hotel down to Ellen to the.
Oh, absolutely. And you're 90% of the way there on the Lower East Side anyway.
Yeah, buses are fine, but I don't think trains are so great.
Okay. And I will give everybody will get a Metro card, so you can use that. And I'm not going to rely on Ubers and cabs because it's a large group, and most everything is walkable. But there is like a couple of times where I will cover the Ubers. Like if we're out at the Ear Inn late at night, I will definitely spring for the cab, for everyone to get back to the hotel safely. But in general, I don't foresee a lot of need for that because everything is so close. I've done that on purpose. And Ellen's really good too. We talked about that a lot. Like, okay, we're going to be here, and then you go there, and you're just right next to that, and then down, and you're right. All of that stuff. So we've really been thinking about how it flows and what it makes sense to do. As far when, so that it's easy to get around.
I have a question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm coming in a day early because from California, I can't get there in time. So can I stay at the Hotel Indigo the day ahead? I guess I'll have to work with you about that.
Yes, let me check. They're so nice and so accommodating. Again, like unlike some of I was checking so many hotels around the area, and I loved how they dealt with me, and I imagined that it would be good. But I will check that for you and for anybody who wants that.
Okay, thanks.
Jeannie, yeah. I reached out to them about staying a day after, and they were super accommodating, and they said they would give me the next tribe rate, and which is lovely. And they just emailed me a credit card authorization form, signed, sent it back, and we're all set. And they're going to try to keep me in the same room. So
lovely. I'm glad to get that firsthand report. I'm happy about that. Thanks, Lucy. Glad to hear they're responsive. And anybody, and if people are staying later, somebody wrote and said, I've never been to New York before, so I want to go up and do some of the other things. And I said that we would help them get that. I can't get them there, but I'll help them figure out some of that if they want to do some things beyond what we're doing. And I'll be happy to do that as much as I can. Because now in my short 9 months here, I've been taking people around everywhere. So I have some experience. Now I remember it all over the 10 years that I was here before, but that was when I was really poor. Not that I'm rich now, but I didn't go anywhere. I just stayed in my apartment and went to happy hours to drink and have a buffet. That's how I fed myself. The free food at happy hours. In my last.
And then another question: are we going back to the hotel at various times to change for dinner, or are we just wearing the same thing and go all night? Or you're going to help us figure out what we need?
Yeah, some days it'll like, I think that Friday, the first day, I think we're pretty much going the whole time. Okay. But Saturday not. Sunday is a late start. So Sunday, I know we are going to Brooklyn because to be honest, I think it's not obviously downtown in the Manhattan, but it's got that same feeling, it's got an interesting artistic feeling. And I have a friend who has, Ellen's apartment is to die for, but this one is also, it's a whole brownstone in Brooklyn Heights, which has been gutted, and there's a part of it is got an atrium in the brownstone, and it's back courtyard. So, and I'm just finishing that, but the main speaker at that event will be a Brooklyn artist. I have an artist and a writer I'm talking to just to nail that down. But don't worry, and we know lots of people, so it's going to be a good person. And I also want to emphasize that when we say there's going to be a speaker at lunch, I want you to know that it's not going to be somebody with a whiteboard and a presentation. It's going to be an intimate conversation. We're going to all be sitting down. So you really, it's just going to be a very easy, friendly thing where you can ask questions of this person, and it's just like talking to a neighbor. But yes, there will be, and that's another thing. If you decide that you need that break, you can get to the hotel, and we'll tell you where to meet us next. You know, there's because it's kind of a small area. I know that makes no sense when you're thinking of Manhattan, but it's not a crazy thing to think that you could even take a cab to the hotel and spend, you know, an hour and then meet us back somewhere. It's not absolutely crazy because it's manageable, a little more manageable than if we were, oh yeah, well, let's go up to the Upper East Side from West Village. No, you don't want to do that. Anything else?
Oh, yeah. Hi, my name's Dawn. I'm from LA. I've never been on one of your trips, but I've been looking at them. So just remind me, how many days is it? And then what's included in the trip and what's not?
It's 5 days, 4 nights. So all your breakfasts are included, your lunches are included, your dinners are included. The private tours of the museum exhibitions, your Metro card to take any public transportation, the tenement museum, what else? I'm trying to think of our shopping time, our tour of the financial district. Oh, and I didn't even talk about this. On Sunday night, I've rented a small performance space, and we're gonna have actresses and writers. It'll be like a small moth. Think of it as a little bit of a moth, you know, the moth story hour, but it's all women our age and telling stories about their lives or reading pieces that are relevant to us. So that's included. And our I just said the tour of Lower Manhattan. We're going to be walking across the Brooklyn Bridge with actually the same guy who's doing our Lower Manhattan. He's going to walk with us across the Brooklyn Bridge and, you know, talk about the structure and the architecture and that kind of thing. So I do have a list of that on the website, but and we have I didn't talk about the dim sum. We'll go to a dim sum. Our last event will be lunch on Monday. I want to take you guys for dim sum, since we're not far from Chinatown at all. So that's included. And, you know, several wine receptions and cocktail hours and that kind of thing. So it's pretty inclusive. Obviously I can't, you know, everybody drinks a different amount. So it's not like I can pay for everyone's alcohol, but that's probably, I think the alcohol and tipping your doorman, your bellhop, your airfare for sure, and your transport into the city, those are not included. I'm trying to think of what else that might be a big expense, but I'm trying to keep the price reasonable and include as much as I can. And, you know, the places that I've chosen for dinner are pretty spectacular. So I think, you know, and they're not, you know, we're not going on the cheap for dinner. So that's why you're gonna have really good dinners. So if you want to see more about that, you can look. Oh, I was going to show that to you. You can look on the website, our page on the website, and I put that in while we're talking. I'll put that in to remind you guys where it is, and I also need to put a link to the Indigo Hotel for Maryland.
Thank you.
So we'll put that. And I mentioned it to Kelly before she left. I will, if you put your deposit down today, or those who have already put their deposit down, they're like, wait a second. But if you put your deposit down today, I will take $100 off the trip, because I do want to start getting the count. We have about 4 rooms left, and and if those of you who've already signed up, if you bring a friend along, I'll give you $100 off. So so think about a friend. Who can you bring? Who wants to come too? But I want to tell you also, if you don't come with a friend, no worries, because you will make friends. There are so many people, I don't know how many, this is probably my 20-something trip that I've done. And we have people coming by themselves all the time. They are by themselves for maybe that feeling of by yourself for maybe an hour or two. But after that, they're not by themselves anymore in any sense. So, meaning you, and I've tried to, people have asked me how come these groups gel so well? And I can't really answer. They say, what do you do? And I've really come to the conclusion that if you read Next Tribe, if you embrace this idea of aging boldly, if you're still game to explore life and have a great time, and you're still curious, you are self-selected, and everybody else on the trip is going to be like-minded, and you will just be astonished at how quickly you're just like, oh, like you've known each other all your life. So I mean, even a short trip like this, we did a trip last year to Charleston. It was 3 nights, but by the first morning, we were all acting like we were old college buddies. It was just hilarious. It's just a certain dynamic, which makes it really fun. Anything else I can answer for people? Well, if not, I'm just going to put in the just to remind you of the sign up place, and all the information, extra information of like what's included and what's not is right now in the chat. So I hope I get to meet you. We'll make it fun, and please feel free to email me at any point if you have questions, and if there are questions that are more, Ellen's much smarter and knows a lot more about downtown New York than I do. So I can always lob it over to her if necessary. But
thank you, Jeannie. And
well, thank you.
I can't wait to
Thank
see
you.
Ellen.
I know. Thank you so much. I hope to see you in April on this trip.
You will.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.